right, so we're back at our slab coil pot and the tops are pretty much dry. So now what I'm gonna do is just flip it over and set it down like that. And then the bottom is really moist just because of all the water through gravity just went to the bottom. So what I want to do now is just put a foot on the bottom, and I've been kind of toying with a couple different things, whether just to do another like coil on the bottom, but since I want to carve like some, I don't know, some sort of detail into the pot, and since the bottom was pretty thick, there's going to be that much room where there would be a carving, so I think it might look kind of silly. So what I kind of decided on is I'm going to take one of the coils that I didn't use and then kind of curve up the feet, and then take two other small pieces and connect it in the center, so then it'll look something like that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get my brush and then my tool that I use to score. So I will take these off and kind of just lightly mark on the bottom where I need to score it. And I'm going to take some slip. Place that there. And let me grab my little wooden tool. So this is the sort of tricky bit, just because the bottom is so soft and you don't want to push hard on it, otherwise the bottom is gonna just collapse into the pot. So it's good to put a little bit of pressure on the pot, but not too much. And I've already bent this one pretty much to where I want the feet to kind of pop out. The only thing that I'll do is probably just clean up the ends a little bit. And then as this dries, it'll, you know, I can apply just a little bit more pressure on it as well. So I'm just going to score the ends and then make sure this is scored as well. And I'm just going to kind of stand up, that way I can make sure that everything is nice and even. And this is where the slip can come in really handy and make sure that these pieces are adhering to one another. I think that's pretty good placement for these guys. And then I'm just going to use my wooden tool here to make sure that all the seams are secure. And then I'm just going to kind of round out these edges just so they're not sharp. And I'm going to make sure that these seams are nice in the center. That way it looks like, you know, just one piece. This is where I like just grabbing just a little bit of like some of those pieces of clay that I threw in while I was making the pot. It kind of, if you can put it over a seam, like maybe you had one piece that was just a hair bit taller, it kind of covers that. That way it looks pretty uniform. And this is where like I would kind of baby this piece a little bit more and watch it just to make sure that everything is drying nice and it's not cracking. And I like using the brush too on these pieces just to kind of like almost paint the clay on it. And then now that I know what I'm going to do with my like base, I'll smooth out the bottom of the pot here. That way there's not a sharp edge once it's bisque fired. Because after this dries, then we'll fire it. Now I'm just cleaning up the edges of the feet, making them a little bit more squared off and kind of rounding them out a little bit. Because they'll dry, but then once we flip the pot back over, the weight of the pot will actually kind of smush it down a little bit and should be fairly even on all sides. And for these little pieces of like the slab coils that we made, it won't take very long for these to dry out at all. That way I can flip the pot over and make sure that it's setting evenly on all of the four little feet here. Kind of a cute little pot. And then like this little guy right here, I cut it just a little bit uneven. So what you can do is some of those extra pieces that you have that are pretty moist, typically what I like to do is just kind of get it really wet. Like sometimes I might even just soak it in the water. And then you can kind of sculpt it back on to get your shape that you're looking for. It was just on the right side here where it was just a little bit kind of like sloped in. But all of the other ones look pretty good. I think we're pretty much good to go. Just wrap up the those extra pieces so they stay nice and moist still. Yeah, and there we go. Those are some feet, so I'll just kind of carefully flip it over. So that's pretty much what it's going to look like. And then once it dries a little bit more, the weight of the pot will kind of push these down. That way I can see where I need to file that off. So we'll just let that hang out for a little bit. And then we'll come back and flip it over and then fix anything on the feet that we need to. And we'll come back from there. So now that I got my feet on the pot, they're still a bit wet, so I'm not gonna put any pressure on it. But what I did decide on for the carving was to do a diamond shape. So this was based off of one of my sketches that I had. And basically, so I have turned the pot upside down because the top is the driest part. So I've already etched in some triangles that you can see, and I did try on one. This is the first time that I've ever tried carving into clay. So what I did is for each triangle, I pierced every corner. So I just went through on the top, bottom, and both sides. And what I decided to do was kind of like a crisscross pattern when I'm puncturing them out. So I've done one on this side, I've done one on this side, and now I'll do the other two. So what I'm using is this knife right here, and the flat edge I'm putting towards the top. So I'm just putting enough pressure in where it goes up to where I've already kind of pierced out, and then just slowly taking it out. And then I'm doing each corner. So I'm just doing a little by little. I'm not going too far in, because the clay is pretty wet, but it's also getting pretty dried out at this point. So I'm just a little bit worried about any type of cracking. So I'm just trying to get in. And then I've also scraped away a little on each diamond shape that I've done. I'm just gonna keep going around on each side of it until I can feel that I've pierced through on the other side completely. And then once I've gotten all of the diamonds cut out, I will go back in with the knife and try to fine-tune everything. It's a little bit nerve-wracking because, you know, you put in a lot of work into a pot, and yeah, hopefully it, you know, it'll all come out. But this is also part of trial and error too, just kind of going through the whole process to see if it works. Sorry. That was my big dog Monty, and he also wanted to talk. So I'm just gonna poke through on the bottoms. I know that you guys can't see what I'm doing right now, but I'm just trying to make sure that I can get it. There, that feels better. All right, there we go. So I got one more down. It's pretty crude looking right now, but once I get in there, once all of them are carved out, then I can clean them all up. And then I'll just keep going back and forth until they all come out. This is going to be a pretty slow process, so when I get them all done, I'll just post a quick little video at the end showing you how it all turned out. So I finished all of the diamond shapes on there, and there's something a bit like medieval to this little piece that I like. So the only thing that I've been doing right now is just kind of cleaning it up a little bit more. So I've just been taking a sponge just to kind of rough up the outside and the inside, just to kind of give it all the same like texture and get rid of any of the little like clay boogers that might be on there. And I think that might be about all that I'm gonna do with it. So it's just, I like using the sponge just because it really softens it up and roughens it up at the same time. And then it gets the tops and the edges really smooth, like I like. So I think this might actually be kind of a cute little like candle holder, maybe just for a little tea light. So I'm just trying to get the inside. Well, all in all, that's what it looks like. So I will say that my pot is pretty much done. Don't know what kind of glaze I'm gonna put on it, or maybe I just might fire it and then put a clear glaze on it, because I kind of like the look of the clay. I think it makes it look that much older if, you know, I am going for like a medieval looking candle holder. But there you go. So that is basically what I call like a slab coil pot with a little bit of carving.